Got my girlfriend pregnant even though we used protection, so I offered to pay for an abortion, but she wants to keep it. Now she's begging me to stay and be a father, but I'm signing away my rights. I 25M had been with my now ex, 23F, for a little over 3 months. I always made sure we used tons of precaution when having sex. She was on birth control and I always used condoms. I wanted to avoid having a kid. I've known for a long time that I don't want children. I find them annoying and they would seriously limit my ability to do the things I enjoy, like traveling and outdoor stuff. Unfortunately for me, my ex didn't get her period when she was supposed to, and it turns out she's now pregnant. She came to me and told me she was pregnant. The first thing I did was suggest an abortion. We don't live in a state where it's legal, so I offered to pay for her flight and hotel and told her I'd be happy to come with her to get it done. I have a stable job and make good money, so it wouldn't be too much of a hit for me. She works as a receptionist and doesn't make a lot, so I figured it would be better for me to pay. That's when she told me she was hopping to keep it and that she wanted me to help her raise the kid as its father. I have no intention of being a father. Beyond just my dislike of children, I'm not ready for that. I made it very clear that I didn't want the baby, but she kept insisting that I'd have a change of heart once it's born and to just try it out. After a long exchange, I told her that if she intended to keep the baby, I would not act as a father. I broke up with her and told her that I would pay child support once it's born, but that I expect her to respect my wishes and keep the child away from me. Since then, she's been frantically texting me, begging me to come back and telling me she'd forgive me. She sent me voicemails crying. It does hurt to see, but I haven't responded. The other day she texted me saying how she can't raise the kid alone and how I'm basically forcing her to get an abortion just by leaving. She called me an asshole, an abuser, and a sexist. She ended the text begging me to talk again. I definitely feel like crap. I really liked her and we had a good relationship before this, but I just don't want to be a dad. I'm already bitter about the fact that I'll have to pay child support for 18 years, which will somewhat limit me financially. I also feel it isn't right for a parent who doesn't want their child to be involved. I just end up taking that pent-up anger and bitterness out on the kid who is ultimately innocent, which I feel isn't right. With all this said, I come here to ask, am I the asshole? I certainly feel like one, but I also stand by what I did, clarifying edits. On the topic of a vasectomy, I tried. I met with a doctor last year and asked about getting one, but he refused and said every doctor he knows won't do it until you're at least 30. It's a conservative state, and while I dislike the politics, I was born and raised here, so I'm still attached to the state and have never felt the urge to leave. Someone said I should have flown elsewhere to get one, and I guess they're right, but I just didn't think about that. On the topic of birth control, I bought the condoms myself, so they were fine. Whenever we were done, I'd throw used condoms in the dumpster, so I don't think she went dumpster diving. I asked her on our first date if she was taking birth control, and she said yes. I took her at her word. Maybe it was foolish to just believe her, but if she was lying, she'd be the first I've met to lie about that. Most girls I've met are honest about it. I assumed she was on the pill since that's the main birth control I know, but maybe she was on something else that I'm not educated enough on. That being said, I'll follow your advice and lawyer up, plus get a paternity test. Ike, how long that will take, but whenever I get it done, I'll update here with results. Thanks for your judgments. I've been away for a bit, but I'm catching up and trying to read what I can. I'll be checking back now and then and replying to some people. All further feedback is appreciated. Update 1. I have hired one of the better family court lawyers in my state. She is someone representing her for free. It has been made clear to my ex and her representative that she is not to contact me personally and that all contact will go through my lawyer from now on. A paternity test is scheduled for next Wednesday. I don't know how long it will take to get results, but the test is happening. If the child is mine, we will go to court to figure out child support payments and will set up the process for me to sign away my rights. Another clarifying edit. I was gone for a while, and while reading through some comments, I have found a topic I'd like to clarify for anyone left who still checks here and cares. At the beginning, I said I made sure to use lots of precautions. I had thought people would understand from that I had made my intention to not have kids clear at the beginning. Just wanted to make that clear. She told me she wasn't looking to have kids. I should have been more clear about this, I guess. I was under the assumption that she didn't want kids, which is why I was blindsided by her change of heart once she was actually pregnant. I understand it happens, feelings change or whatever, but for me it was a big shock. When I go to get the paternity test started, she will also have an ultrasound and we'll talk then. I'll update on Wednesday. BTW, the text will take a few days to process, so I'll also update with results. Comments where Op has replied, Op, there's a lot to unpack here, so I'll try to go piece by piece. Obviously, what you've experienced is very difficult, so I'm sorry about that. I'm glad you found yourself. My parents, yeah, they're dying for grandkids. They've been bugging me nonstop since I hit 20, asking when I'm gonna pop out a baby for them. I've made it clear I don't want kids, and my sister's a lesbian, so they're pretty bummed out about it all. If they knew about the kid and that I'm bailing, they'd be pissed, so I'm keeping it under wraps. As for how I'll feel down the road, I can't say for sure. Right now, I'm dead set on not wanting kids, and I'm betting that's how I'll feel later, too. Everyone's got regrets, right? So I'm okay with the fact that if I end up regretting this, I'll just have to deal with it like everyone else. If I do feel regret, I'm not gonna reach out to the kid. I'll keep it to myself and keep on trucking like always. If the kid tracks me down someday, I'll be straight up with them, depending on how I feel. It'll either be, I was 25, didn't want kids, and still don't, sorry, or I was 25, thought I didn't want kids, wasn't ready, it's been one of my biggest regrets, and I'm sorry. But it'll probably be the first one. I don't know what made you think I'm warming up to the idea of having kids. I'm still dead set against it. I just feel sorry for the kid, 'cause it's not their fault. Morally, I don't feel great about leaving the child, but personally, I'm sure it's the right move for me. It's definitely a selfish choice, but I've always been upfront about being selfish. It sucks, but in this situation, I'm putting myself first and doing what I think is best for me. Apprehensive_cactus. There's no way she'd give up the baby once she's holding it and goes through all that. It's super emotional, and we're wired to look after our young. Chances of her giving up the baby are like 2%. She really needs to stop hopping you're all going to be a happy family someday because this is awful for her self-esteem. She can be happy as a single mom even if it's really tough. Does she have family willing to help her out? Her own parents? Motherhood is a huge adjustment, and doing it with zero support sucks. PPD is no joke. She can totally do this without you, but it would be a lot easier if she had at least some support from her family. I don't know that much about her family, haven't met them, just heard bits and pieces. Apparently her dad has some drinking issues, and her mom is pretty closed off. They live in a different city, too. That's about all I know, but I doubt they'd be able to help her much. Alternative_ at 5613, I would consider locking down that pathway before she realizes it could lead to your mom. You know, blocking her before she sees your mom comment on a post and making everything go through a lawyer. By the sounds of it, if she makes contact with them, it sounds like they'll definitely take her side in the matter. You definitely will have contact with your ex and her child because your family will be involved. I'm not saying you need them, but I feel like within 18 years they'll know, especially considering how at-home DNA tests and programs are. Either way, that doesn't change my mind about you. You're making the right call here, and now the ball's in your ex's court. I don't know if you're considering moving cities, but if you do, it should increase the odds of you having no contact. I live near and work in a city of 1.5 million people, and I still have made contact with people I never thought I would again. I don't have a Facebook, so my mom doesn't comment on my posts, but I'll take the advice and block my ex. I have a good job, and I really like my apartment, so I don't plan on moving from my city. Even if I run into them, I'm planning to get some kind of legal agreement signed through my lawyer so they can't talk to me directly. Hopefully, they'll just have to pretend they didn't see me. Update 2, sorry I'm late with this, but I got the test done and the results are in. The baby is a girl and she's definitely mine. When I saw my ex, we had a talk. We talked about birth control, and she told me she was on it and had no plans for kids, but once she found out she was pregnant, she changed her mind. I believe her. She was hoping I'd come around to her way of thinking, so I made it crystal clear that I won't be part of the kid's life and gave her 3 options. Option 1, get an abortion wherever she wants, and I'll pay for her to stay there for a week, so she could basically take a vacation to Hawaii or NYC or LA on me. But I have to come along and make sure she actually goes through with it. Option 2, put the child up for adoption, and I'll cover all the medical costs that come with having a baby. Option 3, keep the child and I'll pay whatever child support the court says I owe, sign away my parental rights, get my name taken off the birth certificate, and have absolutely no involvement with her or the kid beyond my monthly payments. It was a tough conversation, and she didn't take it well. She ended up crying for a while. She kept telling me that I'd be a loving and kind dad, asking me to give fatherhood a shot and think about how good our relationship was before all this happened, and to picture our future together with a daughter. I told her I'm still dead set against being a dad, and she was devastated. She won't get an abortion, but she's scared to be a single mom at 23 even though she wants the baby. She told me that if I'm there during the birth, see and hold the baby, but still feel nothing for her after all that, then she'll think about adoption. She also mentioned that if I ever change my mind about being a dad, she'd be thrilled to start a family with me and even hopes I'd pop the question. I've made it crystal clear that I want no part in this. I'm torn because I'd rather the baby be adopted than have to shell out child support for the next 18 years, but I also don't want to be anywhere near the baby or be there for the birth. Any advice would be great. All right, update 3 is here. I've been getting a ton of new advice over the last few days. Some of it's been pretty helpful and interesting. I got some really solid suggestions, so I arranged a lunch with my ex yesterday, and we had a long, productive talk. It was the first time we'd spoken in over a month. Before that, it was all through lawyers. I figured the best way to keep things on track was to lay down some ground rules and keep things real. Both of us have been living in a fantasy land. I told her I was dropping the idea of abortion or adoption. It's what I wanted, but I know it's not going to happen now. My ex wants to keep the baby, and I told her I get that. I won't bring up abortion or adoption again because it's pointless. I have to deal with the reality that she's going to keep the baby. I also told her it's time for her to let go of me. I made it super clear that I'm not getting back together with her, no matter what, even if she decides to abort. She's never going to get the happy family with me that she dreams of. I told her she needs to drop that fantasy because it's not happening, and it's just making it impossible to find any real solutions here. She admitted that there's no chance of a happy family between us. I think we've both finally faced the reality of the situation. Neither of us is going to get what we want, so it's time to start compromising. So the new goal we've settled on is to support my ex and our daughter in the way they need right now, while also letting me stay completely out of the picture when it comes to raising the kid. In other words, I won't be involved in raising the child at all, but I'll do my best to give my ex the resources she needs so the kid can have a good life. I won't be in the delivery room and I'll never see her. I'll just be sending money. My ex has $25K in student debt she needs to pay off. She's only making about $60K a year from her job, and she's going to be a single mom, which means dealing with all the child expenses and everything. On the other hand, I've only got around $10K left in student debt to pay off, and after a little over 2 years at my company, I just got a promotion and a big pay raise, so now I'm making roughly $150K a year. Plus, there's a lot of room for me to grow in my field, with the potential to earn up to $325K a year down the road, though that's still a ways off. I'm not saying any of this to brag, just to give you an idea of where we stand. I'll have all my debts paid off by the end of 2025, and I've been putting money into a savings account and investment funds. What I'm getting at is I've got money and she doesn't, so I'll make up for not being there by providing a lot of financial support. I'd rather not go to court, so I'm working with my ex to figure out a fair way to handle the money. Everything we've agreed on is just between the two of us. If anyone has an issue, they can take it to court and sort out child support that way. We talked for a while about what a fair payment system would look like, and this is what we came up with. I'll cover all of my ex's medical expenses related to carrying the baby, like doctor visits and hospital bills. Once the baby is born, I'll pay my ex $2K a month in child support to cover the kid's expenses. This will give my ex some breathing room and let her keep chipping away at her student debt. We didn't do the exact math, but we figured with our phone calculators that it'd probably take her another 6-8 years to pay off all her student debt. Once she's paid off all her debt, the monthly child support payment will drop to $1,000 a month. If my ex finds a guy she marries and he steps up as a dad to the kid, then my child support payments will stop since he'll be bringing in extra cash. On top of that, I'm going to set up a savings account that my ex can keep an eye on. Starting the day the baby is born, I'll drop $500 into the account. Then, on the first of every month after that, I'll put another $500 in until the girl turns 18. At that point, she'll get access to the account as her college fund. From our calculations, the account should have about $108K in it, not counting any interest. I have no clue what college will cost by then, but that should be a big help for her to pay for it. If she decides not to go to college, I'll transfer the fund into my personal savings account, so she only gets the money if she goes to college. The fund has another condition on it, but I'll get to that later. Beyond money, my ex and the child will need emotional support. That's where my awesome sister steps in. She and her wife are crazy about kids. They've been looking into adoption for a few months now. I got this comment once, which I can't find anymore, and it's driving me nuts. I think the person who wrote it deleted it, from a woman whose brother was in a similar spot. The woman chose to get involved and helped his ex raise the kid because she loved kids. Knowing my sister was already thinking about raising a child with her wife, I reached out and asked if she'd be interested in helping my ex. She was super excited about the idea if my ex is cool with it. I asked my ex what she thought and she said yes. My sister and her wife are going to be there for my ex like a support system. When they're free, they'll pitch in with stuff like watching the kid, giving her advice, or just being someone she can talk to. They'll also be extra family for the child, making sure birthdays and holidays are extra special. This is where the second condition for the college fund comes in. As I'm sure you've noticed, my sister is lesbian. I've gotten a bunch of questions about why I don't want my parents involved with the child, so let me clear that up. My sister came out when she was 14, and from then on, she was treated like dirt in our house. My parents are super religious and really homophobic, so the moment she came out, they turned against her. No more birthdays, no more Christmas, no more family dinners. They only gave her the bare minimum to get by and then pretty much ignored her. Obviously, it was super toxic. What they did was just awful, and my sister has every right to have cut them off. My second condition for the college fund is that my ex can't tell them about the child or let them meet her. What they want more than anything is grandchildren, and I'm not going to give them that satisfaction. My ex has my sister's help and support, so she doesn't need my parents. I made it clear that if I ever find out she's taken the child to see them, there won't be any college fund. Finally, I want to talk about me writing a letter. Someone whose father came back and then left again told me not to come back, but to write a letter to my daughter as closure. I don't want to come back, so I thought it was a great idea. The letter will explain why I'm not around in this whole situation. I'm going to be honest, but also try to be gentle in the letter. The goal is to make it clear that I didn't leave because I hate her, but just because I never wanted to be a father in the first place. I'll also mention how her mom really tried to get me to change my mind and how much she loves her kid. I'll wrap it up by wishing her the best in life. The letter will be officially notarized and signed by both me and my ex. When she turns 18, if she's curious about me and wants answers, my ex will hand over the letter. If that doesn't do the trick and she still wants more answers, I've okayed her to reach out to me directly. I feel like I owe it to her to answer her questions face to face if that's what she needs to move on. My ex was also pretty set on having my name on the birth certificate, so I agreed to that. To sum it up, my ex will raise the kid, I'll make child support payments, I'll set up a college fund as long as the kid goes to college and my parents stay out of it. My sister and her wife will be there to support my ex, and I'll write a letter to my daughter explaining why I'm not around that she'll only get if she wants it, as a way for her to find some closure. The whole thing won't fit in the comments, so I'm posting it in chunks. BTW, this will probably be my last update. Things are pretty much settled. Thanks for all the advice and help. Also, for those who missed it, I'm getting a vasectomy in Colorado in February 2024. I mentioned it before, but I'll say it again here. The original text is below the screenshots. I typed out this entire update on Reddit, but kept getting error messages saying it couldn't be posted, so I copied and pasted it and then took screenshots. Sorry it's a hassle, but it was the only way I could share this. I've broken the paragraphs into chunks and they're in order, so hopefully it's not too annoying to read. I'll also try to post the full text in the comments if Reddit lets me. Update 4, Happy Holidays everyone, hope you're enjoying your winter. Short and boring update. I got our terms from Update 3 written up into a contract and the exes signed it. We made some minor changes which I'll go over. Some things weren't legally enforceable, so those stayed as a handshake deal. The basic contract says I have 0 visitation rights and will never get them, but the ex also has to actively keep the kid away from me. I'll be covering her medical care during the pregnancy. We decided to tweak the payment system. I'll be paying $1,500 a month in child support, and an extra $500 will be added for every $50,000 my salary goes up, starting at $150,000 and capping out at $500,000 for a max support payment of $5,000 a month. The handshake part of the agreement is the college fund in exchange for not telling my parents about their granddaughter. My sister will be keeping an eye on the college fund. I'll put in $500 a month until the kid turns 18, then the fund becomes available to her if she's going to college or trade school. If she decides against higher education, she'll get a flat sum of $27,000, about a quarter of the total fund, and the rest comes back to me. We dropped the idea of a letter. If she wants to see me when she's 18, she'll have to track me down. I figured it's better to make it a bit harder for her to find me. My sister will still help the ex with raising the kid, and they've decided to let the girl know that my sister is her aunt. Things are pretty much settled now. The ex is pretty far along in her pregnancy at this point, and everything's sorted out. Sorry to let down anyone who still wanted me to step up and be a present father, but that's never going to happen. In the comments where I replied, someone asked about the role my sister will play in all this, and about my parental rights, boundaries, and contact with the ex and the kid's mom. My sister isn't going to be a go-between. She won't tell me anything about the kid because she knows I don't want to hear it. She can choose how involved she wants to be, but when we hang out, we won't bring up the kid. I'm paying her because it's either this agreement or I end up in court for child support, and it's way easier to do it this way than go through the courts. Plus, I think I got pretty good terms. I guess I could skip the country if I really didn't want to pay, but that would be a total hassle. I'm going to sign away my parental rights, but honestly, it doesn't mean much. In my state, you still have to pay child support even if you sign your rights away. It's more symbolic, just to make sure I don't end up with custody. Sometimes courts can force a dad who hasn't signed his rights away to take custody in certain situations. It also ensures that if something happens to my ex, the kid won't end up with me. My ex's big dream is a happy family, so if she finds a guy she really likes, her goal is to marry him. If he wants to, he can adopt the kid. That's up to him. If he adopts her, then my payments stop, but we have a handshake deal that the college fund continues. If he doesn't adopt her, the payments keep going. Besides the monthly payments, I won't have any contact with my ex. I'm not planning on showing my financials to anyone I date in the future. If I find someone I want to marry, I'll tell them what's going on, but I won't bring it up until we're really serious. If it's a deal breaker and ends the relationship, then I'll find someone else. I don't know what I'll say if the kid finds me. I hope she never feels the need to. If she does, I'll probably just be honest and tell her I never wanted kids in the first place. It's not personal against her. I was just never into the idea of having kids. I won't stay in touch with her if she comes to visit. The idea is that she can talk, vent, or ask as many questions as she wants and then move on for good. I don't want a sustained relationship, so it's gonna be a one-time thing. Crola, if the girl knows your sister is her aunt, she'll figure out pretty quick that you're probably her dad once she's online. Oop, hopefully my ex will be smart enough to know that kids don't belong on social media. I didn't get a phone until I was 13 and it had all sorts of restrictions. I couldn't make any social media accounts until I was 18. As annoying and conservative as my parents were, this was one of the very few things they ever did right. Kids don't belong on social media until they're 18. If my ex doesn't raise the kid like this, that's fine, but my sister and I have already talked about this. The plan is that once she gets a social media account, my sister will share it with me and I'll block her right away so she can't contact me through social media.